Sam the Cooking Guy, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Some call him a fool, some even call him a douchebag, but I say Greg Rempe is the greatest thing to happen to barbecue since caveman.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central Show. This is a show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you feel fit to jump in this evening, or if you don't know how to follow the show, here's how you get all that stuff.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter. Coming up in about 13 minutes from now, he is one of the most recognizable names out there in barbecue today. He is a cookbook author. He is a multiple restaurateur. And you have seen him on Netflix as well during the Chef's Table Barbecue edition. He was on this show last November 2020, if you can believe it. But we will be rejoined by your pal and mine, Rodney Scott. Also Barbecue Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll talk to Rodney about the book, which was about 3 or 4 months away from when last he was on the show. We'll also talk about a new business venture that he has going with a fairly recognizable and popular country singer. We will also talk about restaurant ownership. And if time allows, we might go backyard tutorial, Rodney Scott giving you the ins and outs on how to cook ribs. But I don't know if we'll have all the time for that. But if we do, we will certainly get there. Rodney Scott starting out the show. Then 35 past the hour, the longtime sponsor of the show, president of Primo Ceramic Cookers, Nick Bauer, joins the show. And we'll be talking about the upcoming HPBExpo in March. I believe it's 11th through the 13th, maybe 11th through the 14th. That'll be in Louisville out there at the great and world-famous Exposition Center by the airport. So I will be going there once again for the majority of the day on Saturday and then the majority of the day on Sunday. Already have some meetings lined up. We get to see Nick in person. Again, Nick is somebody who I've already met in person, if you can believe that. That's very few and far between. But we'll also be talking with the good folks over at Gosney, and we'll be talking about, or talking to and meeting for the first time, sponsor of the show, Ted Conrad from Fireboard, and the list goes on. So that's what's happening as we close out the first hour. Then we'll move to the second hour. It is the fourth Tuesday of a month, and we will find a new and fresh version of 2 Embedded Correspondence segments. Do we have a list of 100% surety questions? Yes. Do we have other topics to delve in on after that? Yes. And will we be going to bring in a listener to take part in the 100% surety questions? No. However, in an effort to stay on trend with technology, the most popular thing being talked about right now is artificial intelligence, especially the Chat GPT. So making its debut appearance on the show as part of the Embedded Correspondence 100% Assurity panel, Chat GPT will be coming in and we'll be asking all of Chat GPT the 100% Assurity questions, and we'll see if it is a 100% yes or 100% no for Chat GPT. And that, of course, reminds me that I have to scroll down and make sure that I have the chat. What did I even do with it? There it is. That I have the Chat GPT app going. Hopefully here in this evening, everybody's not on it and I get forced off to the side, which would make for a hilarious comedy bit, much like when I say I'm using Clubhouse to bring in callers and then it fails miserably. All right, so I'm on and ready to rock and roll here for Chat GPT in hour number 2. So that's how the show is going to round out here this evening. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching through our streaming platforms video-wise, Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch over on YouTube /RD Rempe. And as I had mentioned before, we are streaming once again audibly on Clubhouse, where it looks like we have 2 live listeners. Of course, the standby Johnny Maggs and Paul Rosenberg. I mentioned you by name because the likelihood that I will get you this evening is very little. However, enjoy the show audibly. No reason to look at us. I've said it time and time again. Theater of the mind on this show is the best way to go. This week's YouTube weekly poll is as such. If you want your votes to count specifically, go over to the YouTube and weigh in there, or just throw them up on Facebook or Twitch chat, and I will try to mentally add them in. But the question as follows. I currently own or will own a flat top cooker by summer 2023 or this summer. Currently, 57% of you are saying yes and 43% of you are saying no. So as close to 50-50 as we can currently get, but the votes will continue to turn in and we will ask the guests, as long as I remember, if they will be flat top cooking by this summer or not. So let's start here this evening. Number of things to get to. First off, I want to thank everybody who has reached out to me over the past handful of days with their well wishes, positive vibes, overall good feelings as it relates to my wife and my family. I'm not going to get into the depths here. Probably not now, most likely not ever. But that doesn't mean that I don't really appreciate the sentiments that everybody's sending. I certainly appreciate it, and I thank everybody for that. Now, related to that, to a point, I want to thank official sound engineer of the Barbecue Central Show, Haniel Trisna. So some of you know from the mention above, or if you follow my wife, especially on social, I was in Houston this past weekend. It was not Houston livestock and rodeo barbecue related, but I did get to spend a few hours with Haniel in person, which to me is amazing. To finally meet somebody who has had such a huge impact on the show over the past decade or so. And it was an honor and a privilege for me to sit in Haniel's company, to introduce him and indoctrinate him to the world of premium cigars, because I was able to bring a few. Actually, I stopped at a cigar shop in Houston and grabbed some fine sticks and asked Haniel if he was down. He's like, I've never done it before, but certainly I would be open to trying it out with you. And so we had his first cigar together, which was great, and just was able to hang out for a couple hours in the courtyard of the hotel we were staying at, mere minutes away from Energy Stadium, no doubt, where all the barbecue shenanigans were going on. But I mean, it was just great, and it's rare that I'm traveling, and it's rare that I'm in a city where there are avid Centralites, and Haniel's somebody that has worked on and off with this show behind the scenes 99.9% of the time, And he has helped create what I call the Barbecue Central Show's signature sound. He's really responsible for that almost 100%, except for my voice. He's helped me set up all the gear and set all the levels and do all the processing and all that fun stuff. So to be able to spend time with him in person in a different city was something that I will always remember. And just to be able to say thank you to everything that he has helped and lent to this show and do that in person was a special treat for me. So, Haniel, appreciate the time you spent with me when I was in Houston over the weekend. And while I hope we don't do it again soon for many reasons, if the time should call, I will be calling you once again, and maybe we can hit up Lupe Tortillas, because that suggestion hit on all cylinders. I'm not going to mention what happened for dinner Wednesday night, but Thursday night made up for it, no doubt. If you've ever been to Lupe Tortilla in Houston, this is where Sam the cooking guy would tell me, see, you're not going to real Mexican restaurants, because what was not on the menu, chori pollo, not on the menu at Lupe Tortillas, but that's all right. There was plenty of great things like the beef fajitas, which were almost life-changing. Maybe it was life-changing now that I think about it. They were phenomenal. Rodney Scott is ready to rock and roll. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Let me talk to you quickly about the National Barbecue and Grilling Association. Since 1991, the NBBQA has been the voice of the barbecue and grilling industry by helping members network and learn from proven professionals. The owner, Cal Phelps, who was on the show last week, talking about the most recent annual convention out there in Orlando, looks to take the history of this organization to new heights starting this year and going beyond. And what am I hearing from top men and women in the industry who attended the annual conference 2 weeks ago? Things are changing. Things are getting better. Cal is already changing the mindset, is already changing the stereotypes and the stigmas that the organization has had for years. Not throwing any shade. However, Cal realizes what it takes to move this organization forward and grow the organization forward. Talked about it all last week. So, if you're somebody in the business of barbecue, if you are on the fence about joining NBBQA, or maybe you don't know anything about it, go to the website, nbbqa.org. Check them out, see what they're into. And again, if you're in the business of barbecue and you want to learn from proven professionals and ask questions and attend events that'll be taking place throughout the course of the year in person, sign up. Now, when you sign up, you can't make it to one of those events in person. They record everything. So after the fact, they edit it down, give you the best parts of the meetings, and then because of your membership, you can access through the video archives. nbbqa.org. That's nbbqa.org. We are back with Rodney Scott right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Well, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all of your pellet-driven cookers. We visit cookinpellets.com. That's C-O-O-K-I-N. Pellets.com for more information or to purchase or to see what other products they have that might complement your pellet cooker or desire for smoky goodness. Why not? Cookinpellets.com. Maybe Chris Becker will be at the show in a couple weeks as well. We'll see. My first guest tonight, one of the most recognizable names in the industry, especially when it comes to whole hog. If you are a fan of that Chef's Table show, then of course you are a fan of my next guest, a 2020 Barbecue Hall of Fame nominee and famer. We welcome back friend of the show, Rodney Scott. Hey, Rodney.
What's happening? How you doing?
I am absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time once again here for the show. And honored that you would take 20 minutes here out of your busy schedule on a Tuesday. I mean, what other great things do you have going on a Tuesday, of course, than to spend some time here on a ridiculous live-fire internet-based show? Rodney,
Oh, man.
let's talk about, so last time you were on the show, as we were sound checking last night, I reminded you that the last time you were on the show, and it both kind of hit us in the face with a wow, was November 2020. So a number of months ago. And not soon after the visit, Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue, Every Day is a Good Day, runs out. That was technically March 2021. So how does the book end up being received by the audience?
Well, first of all, hello, and thanks again for having me back.
My pleasure,
And,
absolutely.
It's always great to be here. The book seemed to be well received because the first part of the book, we tell the story of me, Rodney Scott, the individual, growing up in the family business. All of the things I experienced as teenagers, high school graduation, my love for vehicles, my dislike for farming, all of the things that you don't always hear from people who do barbecue. Where I hung out, the bands I listened to, all of that, it's written in the book. And a lot of the stories in the book touched on subjects that a lot of people are kind of ashamed to talk about. So it was pretty well received. Everybody said, I understand that situation. I've been there, or I'm in that current situation.
If you think of one song that is a life-changing or a framework song for Rodney Scott, what is it?
Anthony Hamilton, Giving You the Best of Me.
Really?
Amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm embarrassed to tell you my song.
Okay. Tell me anyway.
But I'll tell you anyway, because every day is a good day.
Every day.
When somebody asks me what song shook you to the very core, 8th grade summer, going into freshman year in high school, Saratoga Springs, New York, on a visit back, because that's where we moved from. And my old neighbor, we're in his bedroom, and he puts on a bootleg copy, NWA, Straight Outta Compton. The title track, Straight Outta Compton. Those drums kick in. I'm telling you. And then, of course, listening to the whole album. It shook my whole life. I had no idea about rap music in that way. It was, a lot of Sugar Hill Gang and, whatever before that. But that was like a revolutionizer. Obviously icons in the industry, but whenever I hear you are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge, and then those drums kick in, it rushes me all the way back to that 8th grade summer. And that song just shook me to the core in a very good way. So that's a defining moment for me.
Good.
Do you read the reviews on that book? And if so, do you filter for only the good ones to show up?
Honestly, I don't read the reviews a lot. I'll peep over one or two here and there. I try not to let too many reviews get to me, whether they're negative or positive. So, I like to just stay focused and keep moving forward. But I've heard a lot of people, give good reviews on the book. There was a lot of recognition. It made Cookbook of the Year with the IACCP. I was amazed to just have that recognition. But there are a lot of folks. I can think of 2 people that bought the book, came to events where the book was being, sold or passed out as a gift, and they would have another book signed anyway, even though they already had one at home. Because I was present, they just wanted me to autograph a book for them.
Wow. So,
in my opinion, it's been well received.
As I go through the scathing portion of these remarks, here's the one that continues to show up as a refrain of sorts, which was the first 50 pages that you had mentioned was a Rodney Scott autobiography. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
As you are sitting with the publisher, you're putting the book together, and now it's ready to go out, start promoting, pre-sale, whatever you're doing these days. Is there a push to make sure that folks know as potential consumers that this isn't just a cookbook or a recipe book? There is actually Rodney Scott, the human, in the front end of this book, and then you'll get what you want in the back half.
Well, not a big push, but in the beginning, the plan was to have a recipe and a story behind each recipe, and what type of music you would play with each recipe. And as we dug into where each recipe came from, it started to dwell into stories being told about the things that happened around it or that particular time in my life. So I said, you know what, man, let me give it to you straight. And we put it all out there and we presented it to the editor. And the next question was, are you sure? And I said, absolutely. Let's print it. Let's put it out there. Let's tell the story. And we did.
We've talked a lot about books, especially in the first half of this or the first part of this year with some other folks that have either done it or are currently in the process of doing it. Are you approached to write a book, or did you feel it was time to tell your story and you had to get a literary agent and then solicit a publisher?
Well, I was approached a couple of times. There were a few people that suggested you should write a book. Of course, I looked at them and I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. But when I was approached, asked, do you want to write a book? And I was like, I guess, let's do it. And we got an agent and got the conversation going. And here we are a few years later, we got our first book under our belt.
Do they tell you we want to see certain pre-sale numbers, or we want to see how engaged an audience is? I was talking with Meathead a couple weeks ago. He's working evidently on a second book, and he said, what wasn't in the first book as important is now really important in the second book, and that's how big is your following on social media? What kind of a club do you have or don't you have? Or how big and what's your website traffic like? So they can decide, I guess, either how much advance they want to pay you or how well they might decide to forecast out how well the book is going to sell. Are they telling you, hey, Rodney, press out and see how many pre-sales that you can get? I mean, is that just part of the business these days for books?
Well, they do mention some of the subjects that we want to kind of touch on, around the industry. And, sometimes we discuss how much budget you would need to get your book printed, get your pictures done, how much the first or the previous book has done. We've since been approached about another book. Mm-hmm. More to come later on that. But the discussion comes around the first book's performance, the people that the sales of the books, the discussions, everything from the audio books, everything is involved in how much is going towards the next book.
If you're just new to barbecue and you're looking for great books, Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue, Every Day is a Good Day, currently available on Amazon and probably wherever books are sold. So go ahead and look that up. Now, Southern Living Magazine's top 50 barbecue list was released earlier this year. A second Tuesday of the month regular guest here on the show happens to be Robert Moss, who is the guy evidently personally responsible for generating this list. Rodney Scott's Whole Hog Barbecue ranked 26th on the list, so making the top 50 is great, no doubt. 10 spots down, Scott's Barbecue. So is it a potential point of no matter where you are on the list, just being ahead of the family business is what you're really looking for, or does it not even make a difference?
Listen, honestly, it doesn't make a difference. Shout out to everybody that made that list and so many people who have yet to get on that list. But, there's a saying in the country that old folks used to say when I was a kid, they would say, it's great to be in the number. You know what I mean? And just to be recognized in that group amongst all of these great barbecue restaurants, I'm appreciative of that. I'm so focused on delivering my best, again, giving you the best of me. I'm so focused on giving you my best that, I don't pay attention to chasing the levels of the family restaurant being above it or below it, none of that. Just focus on doing the best I can with barbecue on a day-to-day basis. Rodney
Scott joining us here on the show, RodneyScottsBBQ.com, the website. So you have the restaurants currently, but you told me as we were sound checking last night, maybe there's some other restaurant shenanigans that might be afoot here. So you had mentioned that you, a fairly famous country singer, might be going into business together. So if for the folks who don't know, give us a little inside scoop there and what we can expect.
Well, one of the things you can expect from the Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue coming up is we partnered up with Eric Church, country music singer, and we're currently under construction in Nashville, Tennessee, where we're going to open the building called Chiefs, which is paying homage to Eric's album, Chiefs. And this will be our first barbecue restaurant on the rooftop. We'll be in the air where you can see us, you can smell us. This will be probably, I would have to say, my biggest biggest project on in the barbecue world yet.
How do you come together with Eric Church?
Listen, man, as much as I love music, you may see me at any concert, and I happened to meet up with Eric, and he found out who we were.
How do you just meet up with? I go to concerts and I don't meet up with anybody. So how do you meet up with the headliner of the show?
Well, apparently somebody knew somebody else, and we all got introduced.
Wow.
I remember walking past him at a golf tournament in Charleston, and I was like, dude, that's Eric Church. And we didn't talk that particular day, but a few weeks later, we were in connection. So I guess it was word of mouth and the smell of the smoke in the air, man. I don't know.
And he's just a foodie, or he's a capitalist / restaurateur kind of person, or where's the connection?
Well, the connection first, again, is music. And then we created a friendship. He's a foodie. He's more than just a guy. You know what I mean? He's like family. We sit, we talk, we laugh. I go to his shows. He comes to the restaurant. It doesn't. It goes deeper than just another guy across the table. You know what I mean? It's a brotherhood.
So is this Rodney Scott invested in a restaurant? Let me back out here for a second. As I've done this show for now 15 years of live nonsense, I've come to learn that there's now different facets of restaurant ownership or being in the restaurant game. I always thought it was, like your parents had. You open the store, you're working in it all day, all night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, how you came up with the whole deal. But then I learned that there were also financial backers that you might be able to strike relationships with, and they're helping you get into the restaurant business, but it's still kind of like you're in it all the time. But then there seems to be other things like licensing. So I come up to Rodney Scott and I say, hey, Rodney, I want to pay you X amount of money over this term. I want you to put together the menu and make sure the cooking's on point, but you don't have any financial stake or anything to lose other than if the restaurant doesn't perform as well, your percentage of the take every month isn't going to be as big as if it was doing better. So where are you invested on this Chiefs? Is it licensing, or does Rodney Scott have real cheese in this?
Oh, you're going to see Rodney Scott in this thing. It's going to be real cheese. You know what I mean? Again, family, a brotherhood. We're together. We're going to make this thing grow. We're going to bring a lot of joy with food and music and drinks, you name it. But we're all in.
Is it a barbecue restaurant? Is it a vibe of barbecue as a main focus with country music playing in the background, or is barbecue just a portion of it?
Barbecue is a portion of it. Eric will be in the building. Live music will be in there. Dueling piano bars, you name it. All of the entertainment, and then to top it off, the barbecue is there as well. Yeah,
Nashville has some pretty well-known barbecue restaurants, of course.
Yes.
Are you going to be catering to a Tennessee-style barbecue, or is it going to be Rodney Scott's barbecue no matter where you are in the country?
It's going to be Rodney Scott's barbecue no matter where you are in the country. We always try to complement the local areas that we go into, but we also bring along the Rodney Scott's barbecue.
Let's take it to the backyard real quick. Got about 5 minutes here, so I have a couple bucks in my pocket. We're going to go to the grocery store here, and we're going to buy ribs to cook in the backyard. What are we looking for?
Okay.
If Rodney Scott's buying ribs, just commodities, what are we looking for before we actually get home and start prepping?
Well, before we get home, we want to find a nice cut. You can get a spare rib if your budget's, a little tight. You can improve along with a St. Louis cut if you want to make the next level up. You want to find a nice meaty rib, but not too much fat, nice marbling on there. And when you get that rib, you're going to take it home. You're going to get that membrane off of it. You're going to take some Rodney Scott's rib rub, and you're going to sprinkle it over it to prep it. Once you get that membrane off, then bone side down at about 200, 250 for about an hour and a half. And then you're going to take the sauce and mop it with the Rodney sauce, flip it and mop it again and let it finish cook on the other side. Now, I got to say this. We partnered with Spice House recently, a company that came along in like the 50s. I think 57 was the year.
Wow.
With some premium spices, and we got different flavors. We have a smoky sweet hickory, a garlic butter. We have those options as well. So you can either do the Rodney Scott's or you can do the Rodney Scott's partnership with Spice House. We have a couple of brands that you can use. But my personal favorite, of course, is the Rodney Scott's rib rub.
Yeah, and I, of course, am a huge fan of the Rodney Scott vinegar sauce, which is absolutely phenomenal, especially on pork, course, but it's got that nice peppery bite to it because there's a lot of pepper in it, which is, you can see it, of course, but that's right in my wheelhouse, no doubt. When you're running the pit, do you have a special pit preference? Are you just a brick pit guy if you could do it, or does it matter, offset, pellet cooker, whatever?
I prefer a direct cook when I'm cooking ribs, just like you would do a burger or a steak on the grill outside. I prefer the direct cook. That's one of my favorite ways of doing things. I have used everything from cinder block pits to metal pits to Weber's to offsets, but my personal favorite is either the cinder block or any direct cook pit is one of my favorites to cook on.
So you're probably not cooking to time per se. It's more of a feel, maybe pick it up and bend it, whatever the pitmaster tricks is for Rodney Scott. But you're looking at like a 3-4 hour cook for a rack of spare ribs, or longer than that?
For a rack of spare ribs, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
You want to pay attention to it to make sure, because, as a lot of people tend to forget, every cut is different. So you always want to give it that 3 to 4 hour time frame.
So would this be akin to a rendezvous type cook, or do they cook hotter than you would cook direct?
Honestly, I don't know how Rendezvous cooks. But with us, we cook direct a little low and slow.
Any wrapping, or is that
no wrapping?
Nonsense.
No wrapping.
Never?
You got never. We never wrap the ribs. You can take that Rodney Scott's rib rub and that Rodney Scott's sauce, and you can take those two things over a direct grill, and you'll be fine. You'll be perfect.
When you're done, what's the best side to go with the ribs?
The best side to go with the ribs when you're done, for me personally, I would probably grab the baked beans, because for some unknown reason, baked beans and then potato salad are two of my favorite things I like to put with those ribs. But of course, to each his own. You got grilled corn options, you got all kind of side options, but I would grab that potato salad and baked bean first.
I saw on Twitter today, Andy Staples from ESPN said that the most blasphemous side, doesn't have to be barbecue related, I guess, but I usually relate it to barbecues, coleslaw. You like coleslaw?
I do like coleslaw.
Yeah. He was hating all over it. I'd never seen such a man throw hate. I think, now that I was remembering the post, he was talking about Cane's. They make chicken planks or whatever, and evidently and that's all they do. My kids, absolutely love it. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But they have a Texas toast garlic bread, the chicken strips, and then coleslaw. And he's like, why would you get the coleslaw? Get double the bread. Tell coleslaw, forget it. I've never understood anybody that wants coleslaw. I hated coleslaw my whole life, and then somebody put it on the top of a pulled pork sandwich, and it changed my life. Is that great?
Amazing. Yes, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the textural differences and the additions that it brings to the pork sandwich is absolutely phenomenal. Anything else, Rodney, that you have coming up soon? You're going to be on television in a movie, anything like that?
There's some TV stuff coming up right now. I'm not legally allowed to say as of yet, but stay tuned. You'll see us doing a little bit of TV stuff. You'll see me in the restaurants as much as possible. I'm going to try to rotate and be in every single restaurant in Avondale, Homewood, and Trussville, Alabama. I'll be in Atlanta hanging out. And, of course, Charleston. I'll be in all of these restaurants as much as possible. So that's not new, but that's where I'll be if you want to find me. Man, what else was new? We had a team baseball card come out with Allen and Genter. So there's a baseball card with my picture on it. Man, what else is new? It's barbecue season again. That's what's new.
It's always barbecue season. Who are you talking to? This is the just the show that caters to that. Let me ask you one last question, and thank you for the time tonight. I remember asking Aaron Franklin a number of years ago, and this is just him with the one place. So it's probably much harder for you. But I said, hey, do you feel a pressure where if somebody's waiting in line 4 hours, 5 hours before they even hit the cutting station, or if they're waiting in line for one of your restaurants, they finally get up to order or sit down at the table, do you feel the pressure that you, Aaron, or you, Rodney, need to be available to say, to complete the experience? They've made this whole time investment. Now they're eating. And if they can see you, it's like, wow, everything's full circle and this is a great experience. Is there any pressure like that on you, or can you not operate like that at this point?
First of all, I have an amazing team backing me up, everywhere from, from the person last hired all the way up to the management team. I have a great team backing me up, and I do my best to try to touch as many tables as I can when I'm in each restaurant. I love to try to spend time with the guest. I do feel a little pressure wanting to satisfy folks. Just today, I saw a message from early February where a young lady asked if I was going to be in the restaurant. She wanted to introduce her husband to me as a birthday present. And, I just reached back out. I had to reach out. So there's a little pressure on wanting to satisfy the guests. But unfortunately, you can't always be in the restaurant. But as much as possible, I like to feel, to give them that feeling of joy that they came and they saw me and they got a chance to taste our food. There's a little pressure there, but not a ton.
Busy as ever, potential TV, but we can't talk about that. We got the restaurant coming up with Eric Church, of course, so stay aware on that and other stuff. We'll try and not let like a year and change pass before we come back together here on the Barbecue Central Show, but we're talking with Rodney Scott. RodneyScottBBQ.com, the website, and be sure to get the book. Rodney, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
There he is. Rodney Scott, right there. Again, if you're just tuning in or you're just looking for new barbecue books and you weren't aware, Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue. Every day is a good day. Get some autobiography up front, and then you get into the recipes and the back half, so stay tuned or go out and get it there, Amazon.com, of course, or wherever you get books. Why not? All right, Nick Bauer, let me check, is right there in Clubhouse, so I invite him on stage. Things seem to be going swimmingly. We'll see when we actually start to talk. And as luck would have it, I'll be talking to you about Primo Grills before we talk with Mr. Primo Grill himself. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that they can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing from the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Really, when you break it down, get a load of this. There's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Of course, we all know about the upgrades that have taken place here over the last few years. Now the accessories are coming in. Primo Grill Rotisserie, the Primo Grill Pizza accessory, the rib rack, the drip pans, all that fun stuff. And we'll be learning about some more new stuff with Nick coming up here. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz? Yes. Patented technology? Yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities? I just said that. Multiple sizes of oval ceramics? You betcha. Go to PrimoGrill.com and find a dealer near you. Check them out on Facebook or Instagram. That's PrimoGrill.com. And we are back with Nick Bauer, president of Primo. Right after this, stick around. I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Rodney Scott for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard, fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. My next guest, the president of Primo Grills, longtime sponsor of the show, and a company continuing to make quality moves in the industry. If you're going to be in Louisville at the HPBExpo next month, then you will want to stop by and say hi to the gang at Primo and check out all the ovals on display. However, you might be wondering what's new before next month, or maybe you're not heading to the show. We can find out right now as we race to the hotline and welcome back our pal, Nick Bauer. Nick, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Great. I'm doing well, and I apologize. I didn't grab your sexy picture, so it's Nick on the black screen, but sounding great. So that's all that matters, right? It's all audio here.
That's okay.
Nick, the YouTube question of the evening is this. I currently own or will own a flat top cooker by the summer of 2023. Yes or no? Where do you weigh in?
Me personally?
Yes.
Well, that's a very interesting question. One of the new accessories that Primo is going to introduce here in the next month is a flat top griddle for a Primo. So
wow. Really?
Yeah. So
Now,
I personally probably won't be going out and buying another one. I'll just be using the accessory that I've been testing for about the last 6 months. But that's a very very well timed question.
Yeah. Now, people might think that was slow played or we had that game planned up. However, that was completely not the case. I actually had a question towards the end of our interview here this evening, which was centered around flat top cookers in general. So I guess let's just stay with the theme since we've already unknowingly encroached upon that. It seems, so you have a flat top accessory that's going to be coming out. There's a lot of other, main cooking units that have flat top accessories for them. Grill grates, even, you can flip them over and go from rails to a pseudo flat top thing, but it's got the holes. So if you're doing eggs or something, you'll lose some stuff through the holes there. But now you're seeing a number of companies go for standalone griddle options. Traeger just came out with one. Weber just came out with one. Blackstone owns 80% of that current market. I'm not sure exactly how big it is, but 80% of whatever it is a pretty fair number. And I think Next Grill has one. So more and more grill companies or companies that have freestanding grills are also coming out with freestanding flat top cookers. Aside from the accessory, then, is that something you and the Brain Trust had talked about, bringing a separate flat top cooker, whatever fuel it would be, to market just to compete?
We've on the Broil Master gas side of our business, we looked at bringing a separate flat top, and we have a sample and we tested it, and then COVID hit and we never brought it to market. On the Primo, the charcoal side, we're really staying on the griddle, the flat top, just as a accessory, which some of the brands in Europe have been doing a couple years prior. So you can definitely see the popularity getting more and more out there as as COVID hit and people stayed home. And it's just a fun way to cook. So we had our sales meeting about 2 weeks ago. We had probably 40 to 45 people there. And we used 2 of the griddles on our Primo, and we cooked lunch in, I don't know, didn't even take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's a good, if you're having people over, and the social aspect. It's fun. People can watch. It's active. And so, it's just a fun way to cook.
Will you have different griddle inserts then for the varying sizes of ovals?
Yes. So we'll have one for each size. We actually had reached out to you. It's funny you mentioned grill grates. Reached out to them to do a custom insert for us, so you can sear the steak in the middle, and you have those nice little fancy and sexy searing lines on them. So that may be coming in the future.
Is Brad a pretty easy guy to deal with like that, or is he pretty shrewd?
I think he's a great guy. I actually on one of my trips driving down to my sister's in Florida. I drove by his house and saw his deck and all the different grills and samples he has on his deck, which is kind of, I'm not sure if we even talked twice before. Next thing I know, I'm on his deck looking at all the different grills he has.
Wow.
So that was probably 3 years or so ago. I forget when that was. Time is definitely flying.
Nick Bauer joining us here on the show. PrimoGrill.com, the website, of course. He had mentioned Broilmaster, so if you're not familiar with that, you can certainly go on Broilmaster.com and see the gas grill line that they offer as well. So we had teased a little bit about HPBExpo in the intro there. Are you somebody who relishes going to things like the National Hardware Convention out in Las Vegas like a month and a half ago, and then, of course, the impending HPBExpo type events? Or is that just part of the business and that's how business gets done?
Well, this is the first year that the hardware show was combined with the builder show. And normally we go to the builder show on the harsh side of our business. So our wood stoves, fireplaces, things like that. And there's not normally a lot of grill product, but this show about broke Vegas this year. There's a couple 100,000 people. You couldn't get a taxi. You couldn't get a hotel. They sold out a room. So I normally look forward to going to shows, but it was a complete disaster out in Vegas. It was just too many people and not enough to support. But this will be my 15th year of going to the HPBA show, which is the Hearth Barbecue Patio Association, and it's our core show. So it is. We go to 4 or 5 shows a year, but this is probably 80% when it comes to importance. We take a lot of people, 20, 30 people. It's a long 4 or 5 nights because we have the national board meeting, which is a full two days before the show starts or day before the show starts, plus a dinner. So it's a long show. It's always a good show, but it's definitely, you're happy and tired when it's over.
I remember going to my first Mid-American truck show when I got into the trucking business a number of years ago. And the first handful, it was always, this is going to be a great show. This is going to be a great show. And by the time I stopped going to it, there was a thought of, we have to go because we're afraid everybody else is going to go and we don't want to go. And there wasn't, or at least there didn't seem to be a mindset there was still that great return on showing up and investing all that money into it. Is it still a good return on investment, or is it one of those things where if you don't show up, you're also worried that everybody else is going to show up and you might not be the only ones doing that?
Yeah, it's zero kind of what other people are doing. I took over a long time family business, but we were relatively new to the hearth and grill industry. So we had a small percentage of market share 15 years ago, and we needed to gain more to grow. And so it's always been great growth opportunities for us. Do I wish more dealers? Do I wish more non-sales reps and manufacturers would go? Absolutely. So it's not your be all sell all. I mean, we still invite dealers and people to our plants, to our factories. We do the Primo Bash thing once a year, and we'll be doing that again this September, so people can come see the factory, see where it's made. So it's still great. It's still, especially for us, because we're out of the Midwest, so most of our customers can drive to Louisville, which is going to help. So if the show was in California or Seattle, I don't know if it'd be as good for us, but it seems these last couple shows have been pretty close to where we are, which helps us for sure.
Will you pick up new dealers every year?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And it's as much, we introduced 4 to 8 to 10 new products per year pre-COVID, depending on grill and hearth and all that. So it's as much as just training on the new stuff, because our customers buy from multiple manufacturers who are all coming out with new stuff every single year. And it's the one time a year where our customers are going to be there and you can get their attention to show them what's new and then are what's coming. Or you can, or if they're mad at you, you can have a face-to-face conversation, because emails and text messages and Zoom are awful. There's nothing beats that face-to-face. All right, let's just talk.
We talked about the griddle insert that's going to be coming new. What about anything else new that might be showing at the expo in Louisville?
Yeah, so probably the most exciting thing, and this is where you be one of those, well, how come it took you so long? So the XL has been our 60-70% number one seller for 20 plus years, and it's not even close between the sizes. So a lot of people would like, how come you're off for 3 other sizes? Which is a good question. But anyway, so we're coming out with the bigger version. So we're calling it the XXL. And the current size is about 400 square inches. The new one's going to be about 500 square inches. So it's going to be 25% bigger than our largest model now. So we've seen, you can be on the message boards for a week or so. I'm like, hey, should I get the large or should I get the extra large? And it's always the go bigger,
yeah.
go bigger. So we're going to offer a larger size for the people that want to keep going bigger.
And that will be on display in Louisville.
We have 3 made samples. We showed it 2 weeks ago at our sales meeting. So you'll physically be able to see it. Molds still need to be created, which take a while, and it's always a longer process than one would hope to bring to market. But we started about 6 months ago, so we hope to have it out this fall.
Anything accessory wise aside from the griddle?
Yeah, so I asked on our Facebook the Facebook message,
fan page.
Yeah, fan page, whatever you want to call it. Kind of 2 or 3 years ago about what accessories should we do, and you saw the rotisserie, the pizza, the drip pans, all this. So I asked that again about a week before our sales meeting, so maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we got some really good ideas off of that. So we're doing some sampling, some prototyping now. So you'll see some other stuff come probably here early next year, and that stuff we're doing now, because we can do a new accessory like that depending on how simple it is, 6 to 12 months or so from the time I buy a random prototype or sample online, or I draw something on a piece of paper and I give it to the guys to make. It takes about 12 months.
Nick Bauer joining us here on the show, primogrill.com, the website, and they'll be exhibiting at the HPBExpo in mid-March here in Louisville at the HPBExpo. Nick, in the world of connected cookers, which at this point in the game is usually associated with pellet cookers, Konnected Joe is set to release their own version soon. They're calling it the Konnected Joe or something along those lines. It's not officially out anywhere yet, but according to cookoutnews.com, you're going to put charcoal in it. It's going to auto light that charcoal, and then it will have either a dial or some type of a touchscreen where you can dial in the temperature that you want that Konnected Joe to run at. Do you think this is going to be a trend for other ceramic grills to follow, or is this going to be a one-off specifically related to Konnected Joe?
Yeah, so we've been thinking about that a while. The vendor who's making that for Konnected Joe actually has been trying to sell us that the same exact thing as well. We live in a really small world when it comes to that type of stuff. We'll definitely, and we have been, we've been prototyping a electric grill that has the same exact features. It's just not charcoal that we have a patent on that we may end up bringing to the market. I think there is a need. I mean, maybe not a need. I think there is some people want that, but we had to decide: are we going to do a electric grill, a XXL grill, or a kind of the one you just described? And we decided these 12 months we kind of focus on that grill first, but we'll definitely look at it. I have some different ideas on how to make it better, so we'll see. People really like to control things from their phone, so people really like the ease. So maybe.
This is Nick Bauer. You can find him in Louisville mid-March at the HPBExpo. He is a longtime sponsor of this show, which we certainly appreciate. And the website, of course, primogrill.com. Nick, always appreciate the time, and I will see you in a few weeks in person.
Yep, one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
We just added our new factory video on the website. So if anyone wants to see the factory, kind of see behind the scenes, see grills being made, you can find it on our website now.
All right. So primogrill.com. Look for the factory video that's up there and check it all out. Again, Nick, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Brady.
You got
Cheers.
Nick Bauer right there. I'm reaching for the buttons that are in front of me to control the on-off, but of course he is joining us via Clubhouse. By the way, Sam the cooking guy, that worked great. Sometimes it works. Luckily, when it counts, it works. It seems when it doesn't count, it doesn't work that well, but that's all right. We continue on here. Before we get ready to wrap the show, the first hour, I will tell you about a little company out of Texas called Pits and Spits. The best looking, best cooking smokers on the planet. Pits and Spits offers a full family of products, including traditional offset smokers, wood pellet grills, charcoal grills, travel grills, combination pits, fire pits, and much more. Pits and Spits has been one of the only American fabrication shops that's focused on smokers and grills for almost 40 years. Why is that important? They're able to put an emphasis on quality and design, locally sourced materials, and unmatched attention to detail. The fully welded barrel to the heavy gauge steel brings both function and beauty to life. Pits and Spits builds every product with the intention that it'll get passed down for generations. Whether you're into competition barbecue or you want to take that backyard barbecue and grilling game to the next level, there's a product for you. Check them out at this website, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits, all spelled out, .com/BBQ Central. And then, as you are shopping around, maybe you're buying a pit or two, or if you accumulated enough accessories to get over that $500 mark, at checkout, if you use my code BBQ Central, you will see a free spice pack come with your pits or whatever else you're buying. So once again, it's BBQ Central checkout, and use the website pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and enjoy that free spice pack. All right, we're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Nick Bauer from Primo Grills for joining us last segment. If you're flat top crazy and you have a Primo, now you have an accessory coming your way with the Primo Grill Griddle Accessory. I don't know if we put an official name to that, but that sounds good enough. And what else did I parse from that conversation? There could be perhaps the first electric ceramic cooker coming down the pike. Not soon, but I believe that was just leaked out a little bit. A lot of things going on. No standalone flat top cooker. That was a question that I had for Nick, but that was quickly put to rest there at the beginning of the interview. So if you want to learn and see and feel the new biggest, which is the double XL Primo cooker, make plans to get down to the HPBExpo in Louisville, which I believe is March 11th. Well, why don't I stop thinking and just go right to the thing? Yeah, 11th through the 13th, I believe it is. As far as exposition, I'll be there the 11th and 12th. So if you want to see the XXL, which is 20% bigger than the XL, in person, touch it, feel it, love it, go to the Primo booth. She said they bring 40 people. That's a huge show. Wow. I'll be looking forward to seeing Nick in person and then touching all their stuff in person. Why not? All right, we are pointing to the second hour. Go ahead and refresh your libations. We have plenty of stuff to get to here. I may or may not have a cat piss update. I may or may not have a website update. Who knows what could happen here over the next minute, 2, or 10. The only way to find out is stay tuned. We'll be right back.